Hi there. Welcome to another Rise Above Noise Spotlight, where each episode I get to shine a spotlight on somebody in the Rise Above Noise community who's making a real difference and helping others with their own business growth. I'm Susan Finn. I'm a digital marketing strategist. My company is Rise Above Noise, and I've been working for over 15 years with transformation creators. That would be coaches, consultants, energy workers, and I guide them on their personal roadmap in their digital marketing journey to find more clients, grow their business. So together, we create a system that helps you to show up, that's marketing, in a way that feels generous and it feels in service so that people who are already searching for you can find you. That's marketing. So in today's conversation with Melissa Henry, we asked the question, do you ever feel like you've fallen out of love with your business? Do the day-to-day tasks of being an entrepreneur, a business owner, drag you down? Well, Melissa is going to talk to you about her unique way of creating brand stories. She helps her clients get clear on exactly what their content pillars will be so that they get to show up exactly as who they are. Melissa's superpower, she'll tell you about it, is being able to get people reconnected to their vision and to their business and fall in love with it again. Now, I know you're going to have some great takeaways from today's conversation, so let's get right to it. Here we are for this week's Rise Above Noise Spotlight. And it's interesting, very often I have these spotlights, and I don't know, I guess I've been doing them on Wednesdays or Thursdays, but today's a Monday morning one. And I'm loving the energy here today. And we have a lot of people, I think, have joined us from the Idea Lab for Entrepreneurs. And so I will be sure to put the link to check out the Idea Lab for Entrepreneurs in the show notes later on. I don't want to do it while we're talking here, but do look for that because look at the amazing people that are here. Before I do my favorite part, which is shining a spotlight on an amazing entrepreneur, I'm going to just get us started. I usually get started with a digital marketing tip of the week, letting you know in Rise Above Noise, which is the name of my business, it's the name of my community, it's the name of how I feel about marketing. And when I say marketing, I want you to replace the word marketing with showing up. And so if there's two things that I hold as my tenets, my mission, my non-negotiables in the work I do and how I guide my clients through their journey to show up, to market to the people who need to hear from them. Most of my clients are transformation creators, and most of them kind of shy away from push marketing. And we're leaning towards that attraction marketing. And so of thinking about that and thinking about the coaches, clients, energy healers that I work with, our truest currency then, what we have to hold and protect is our time and our energy. So in everything that I'm doing with my clients, it's to protect time and energy. And get this to go. Now, going back to, all right, marketing is showing up. It's really, I want you to know that it's just a vehicle, right? So if you are a transformation creator, a coach, a consultant, a healer, I want you to know that it's more important now, more than ever, to show up to make that transformation, to help our world become a better place, to make people happier, stronger, healthier, in better relationships. Whatever it is that you do, it almost becomes your kind of an obligation to show up. And if we say marketing is showing up, it's really just the vehicle. So we do all the things, right? Where you have a website, you have email, you have social media, you network, you're writing a book, you're on podcasts, you're blogging, whatever you're doing, that's the vehicle to help you show up for the people who need you. And what I want to do with Rise Above Noise, or even in every spotlight that we do, in every webinar I run, in every program, it's what are you doing to show up to make that difference that you're here to make? So if you think of that mindset, think about how it's going to affect how you show up and how you attract people that you're here to serve. And honestly, so attracting the people you're here to serve, and honestly, you're not pizza, you're not going to make everybody happy. You will also be able to not, I guess repel is a hard word, but make it known that there are some people that you don't work with that would not benefit from you. I'm going to go through these really quickly. Rise Above Noise, the 5 pillars that I work within for my clients. And anytime you're doing marketing, it's these 5 areas you want to work in. And at any point you can be working on 1, 2, or maybe all of them. And first, I'm going to be talking about the first 2 today. So knowing who your core value, who your ideal clients are, what are your core values? What are your non-negotiables? What boundaries are you going to set up? And what is it? And this is why I'm so glad Melissa's here today to talk about that. And that's also, now you got to create the content that's going to kind of wave that flag and let people know, here I am, I solved the problem that you're having. The third pillar is proof of concept. And our friend Jeff is here today. It's about telling the stories. It's about getting the testimonials. People, I love you all, but really people only care about themselves when they're searching for something, like what's in it for them. And so you have to tell those stories to show them. You want to protect that time and energy. Don't get sucked into that social media vortex, right? Like, be strategic, protect your time, do the things that are going to move the dial. Keeping in touch is where I spend a lot of my time, because I do spend a lot of time setting people up on their email systems, creating their lead generators, their list growth strategy, their automated welcome sequences. These 5 pillars are what will help you to show up and to be of service for the people who need you. And so I'll tell you, this spotlight that I do on the regular is my commitment to regular content. It gives me joy. I have a system for it, and it speaks directly to the people who I intend to attract. So if there's a takeaway, Melissa's going to give you lots of takeaways too, but maybe this goes into it. Like, think about what gives you joy so that you can show up with consistency, create content. Now, my content goes to a podcast, goes to my YouTube, it goes to my blog, it goes on my email, it gets broken up into nuggets on my social media. Sometimes I speak about it in places. So I am using this one thing that gives me joy to create my week's worth of content. All right, so I'm going to kind of transition now. And this is the part I love. I want to introduce you to my friend Melissa Henry, who's here today. She's the founder of Personal Brandography. Melissa helps women coaches and consultants strategically clarify and showcase their personal brands. And that makes their marketing, right? Their showing up way more effective, so they can have a bigger impact while growing their business, right? Multiple 6, 7 figures. So I asked Melissa what her superpower is, and she said that it's being able to get people reconnected to their vision of their business, of their future, and to fall in love with it again. Melissa, I'm so glad that you're here. Tell me about that superpower. What is that? Do people fall out of love with their vision?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, Susan. I'm super excited to be here. And I absolutely love, love, love talking about vision. It's where all of our emotions about our big, our why, like the where we're headed, that direction, it's really what gets us up in the morning, I think. And so if I can get people excited about it again, like let's just take a step back from all of the detail stuff that we do every day, the to-do list, all the things, take a step back and go, oh my God, this is what I really want. I can see it. I can feel it. I can, like it, you just begin to fall in love with it again. And then that gives you that energy and that motivation to keep going. So when I say that that's what I do, I really do. That my work always starts with that. And it doesn't matter if you're a client of mine or if we're just on a phone call, like getting connected, or if it's a discovery call, it doesn't matter. I want to talk about that first because that's where everything comes from. So does that answer your question? I feel like
Well,
that.
it does, yes. And right. And sometimes it's what we need, that kick. I don't know, like kick is a hard word, right? But something, a little nudge,
Yeah.
something that helps us get reinvigorated,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. And if you can do that with joy, even better off. Now, how do you use that? Well, why don't you tell people about the work that you do and how you use
Sure.
this superpower in your work?
Sure. Well, so I'm going to just tell you guys, if you want to do this for yourselves, like literally just sit there. I mean, and it's sometimes better even to talk it through. At least it is for me. I'm a big time verbal processor. So if I have someone else like talking about this with me, it really gets me going too. So if you want to like have a coffee with someone, if it's a virtual coffee or in person or whatever, ask each other questions like this. You say, okay, so if all of your work was done, you were done, like there was nothing else for you to do in the world, what would you have accomplished? Like what does that
Mm.
look like? What does that feel like? What does that smell like? What does that taste like? All of those things. And you're going to start to think that way. And that means you get to think huge, big, big, big picture. Not just, well, I wrote a book and da da da. No, no, no. How many lives did you change? And what does that look like? And can you imagine those people coming to you and thanking you because you changed their life? Like that is the big stuff. So, and even when I talk about it this way, it gets me a little bit like choked up because I can feel it. I can feel like that energy around it. So that's just my tip on how to get there. But do it with someone else. It's way more fun that way because then you can sit there and say, "We're going to change the world, man," and then you go out and you do it, right?
Right.
So, but to answer your question about how I work with people, I was actually this morning going through and like writing a post about, and I'm sure this will probably resonate with a lot of you guys, but I have a tendency to not celebrate my wins. And this is sort of common for me. Like it's been that I've been that way my whole life. And then now becoming an entrepreneur, it was like, geez, that's like on, overdrive now because we're just always so driven to, we got this goal and okay, great, we did that one, but now on to the next thing and never really looking back. So I'm taking this time at the end of this year to look back and say, okay, I'm going to admit right now, because this is part of my post, I did not hit my revenue goal for this year. And I'm telling you, for a while, I felt some kind of way about that. And I was like upset about it, frankly. And then I was listening to a podcast, and have you ever heard this? It's called She Sells Radio. Maybe you haven't, but Elise Archer is the podcaster.
Yeah.
So she was talking about the fact that um, if we don't hit a goal like that, and we can start to like, you know, just be upset with ourselves, etc. She says, rather than looking at that, look at the goals you did make, and then realize that those were more intentional for you. Like you had an intention behind those goals. That's why you made them. And that those goals likely are setting yourself up for reaching the one that you didn't reach. So I don't know if that's confusing, but I thought to myself, holy moly, yeah. So I'm answering your question in a roundabout way, and that is, guess what I did do? I actually created my first group program this year, and I filled it with people. Like that's amazing, right? Like I didn't know that was going to happen at the beginning of this year. I had an idea, but I didn't realize I could actually do it, and I did it. And so with that program, I work with people to actually do this work. And it's if they're rebranding, if they haven't really like thought about a lot of these deeper aspects of their brand, like that's what we do together. We go into that. they learn about these concepts, they learn how to get to, you know, answer those questions. So things like what you just said, how do you arrive at your core values? You know, you can't, a lot of the stuff you can't do in a vacuum because there's more work involved. And so how do you really define your vision? How do you really understand what your true mission is? How do you like really dive into, and I think we're going to touch on this today, like micro niching, and you know, getting over that that fear we all have around that, and I'm me included. I had to get over that fear too, so I know what it feels like, right? So all of those things, like we dive into that stuff together, and then you know, throughout the program I'm helping my coaches and consultants get their brand set up so that they then can start being more visible, and being visible in a way that aligns them right back to all of those aspects of their brand. So that's one way I work with people. I also, you know, I came at this, the beginnings of all of this came through when I switched my niche from, I, when I switched my niche, that was when I went full time in my business. That was 5 years ago. And I switched it, get this, from newborn and maternity photography to personal brand photography. And that was a huge difference. It's completely different. And, you know, I won't go the ins and outs of it, but there's like all kinds of reasons why that's completely different, including completely different clients, right? So yeah, I had to start kind of from scratch, I think. And then over time, what I realized was I had a very unique way to actually photograph people, and that is creating these scenes, these stories that connect directly with people's, you know, brands. It aligns with their personality, it aligns with how they want to show up, it aligns with who they're trying to attract. And it was just sort of natural for me. I don't know why, but my brain just works that way. So we create these session plans that gets people out of this variety that actually is in alignment with their content pillars, with you know, helping people see who they really are, like helping people get more trust, you know, like you garnering more trust with those ideal clients you're trying to reach. So that's another way that I work with my clients. And to be quite honest, most of the time we're doing a combination of both of those things over time.
So I have a couple questions,
Sure.
knowing who listens to these episodes. So one is when I first started get in business, and I think happens to many people, I thought, oh, branding, that's my colors and my logo. But I hear you talking about your core values, your content pillars. Like you haven't even mentioned colors or logo.
Nope.
So when you're talking about, but I did love how you said you take photographs, because I know that's what you were doing. You take photographs with showing the stories of the people, right? The stories. And I've seen your photographs, right? People are holding signs, or they're in a particular place, or they're, you know, they look like they're jumping off of something, or they've got books all around them or something like that. That's a whole different kind of branding, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that's a common thing that is kind of a misperception of this. So, and I have a graphic, but I don't have it available right now. But I think it pretty much describes this. So, if you want to get technical about, you know, branding, marketing, sales, all of that, what I'm talking about is foundational. It's a strategy. The reason we call it brand strategy is because if you don't know these things, you cannot market effectively, period. Right. And you can't, and here's the thing, you can go get a logo, you can pick colors, you can create a website, but all of that stuff it's probably not, I'm going to say probably 100% not going to be in alignment with you unless you've actually sat down and done this work ahead of time. So I'm not saying don't go and pick your colors or whatever, but I'm saying that if you spend the time figuring out these underlying elements, right? It's deeper work is the thing. And I think that's the thing. It's not the sexy part, right? What's sexy? Ooh, I have this awesome logo and it's so cool or it's so pretty or whatever, but does it mean anything to your ideal clients? Does it communicate anything? Same thing with the photos, by the way. I've seen people do that. They'll go out and they'll invest a whole bunch of money in a brand photo shoot. but they haven't identified, and this has happened. I'm telling you, like I've had clients come to me, and before I did this sort of deeper work with my clients, they came to me and they're like, "Oh, I just need photos for my website." I'm like, "Okay, but then what? Like, what are we photographing, right?" So they would get these photos, and then this happened twice. They would get these photos, and then they either wouldn't use them. That happened once because she didn't know how, she didn't know where, who, what, nothing. And then the other one, she put them on her website, but she didn't have like a dialed in understanding of who she was working with and what her offer really was going to be. And so 2 years later, when I talked to her again, I kind of kept in touch with her. And then I asked her, what's going on with the business? And she's like, yeah, I'm not really doing anything. Oh, great. So she wasn't even making money from it. So
So
that's
sad.
when I was like, nope, nope, you have to understand this first. So the strategy is get into all of that, get it set up and ready. And then it's when you understand where you're going. And if you don't mind, I want to give one quick example of that.
Of course.
So I just touched on the micro niche topic, which I think we'll probably do a little bit more into, but here's what happens when you do things like what I'm saying, when you get into this work and you really get this all dialed in for yourself. What happens is, and let me just give an example because I think Jeff will love this case study, right? So, so what happened was I had this client who she did credit card processing for small businesses, but she did it like she was able to give them a discount on the merchant fees and things like that, right? And she was struggling because she was like, well, my mentor says I'm supposed to go door to door to all of these, local businesses, and I just can't do that. I've got kids. I don't have the time, and I don't want to do that. Like that sucks. I don't want to be out, I don't want to be like door knocking. Forget it. So we started talking, and I said, okay, well, who do you love working with? And so we started getting into that. We went deeper and deeper. And finally she said, well, I really love working with restaurants because my family, that's my background. So I know it. And I was like, cool. Okay. So we're not door knocking either. Okay. So now we started talking about that. And I was asking her, well, where would you find these people? We start local, we can just start local, that's easy. So where would we find them if not at their restaurant? And she said, because I said, well, associations, groups, like what are we talking about here? And finally she goes, oh my God, there's like a food expo thing that happens like every quarter around here. I think that's what she said. I can't remember now, but and I said, great, call them up, and you're going to go and you're going to speak to them. You're going to speak to the group. They're going to be like all of these restaurant owners there. So she goes, oh, I'd love to speak. And I was like, perfect, in alignment with your brand, right? In line with her personality, how she likes to do things. And so that was the thing. Like it was an aha for her that, oh my God, I can go to these expos, talk to, I don't know how many people, let's say 100 people at once. And they're not like, if she went and she's followed her mentor's advice and went to the restaurants directly, she's like, oh my God, people go in there all the time and they like lay their business card down and there's nothing new about that. I said, well, teach them something. Then they're going to trust you. They're going to come up to you afterwards. And sure enough, that's exactly how it worked. So it's like, this is what I'm saying. It's like, we need to like, if you do that micro niching process, if you get into those detail areas, you're going to find this is way easier than you think. And sometimes, many times, oftentimes, we don't have to be posting all the freaking time on social media to get these amazing clients.
Well, I love this story for so many reasons. One is, right, you saved her time and energy. She has kids. She didn't want to go knock in, right?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't enjoy it. And that was her energy. And it wasn't effective for her. It didn't give her joy. And the fact that, and she loved working with the food thing, and that she could do the one to many, which is what marketing is as well. It's showing up one to many. Her marketing at that point was the speaking, and then having some kind of a follow-up process. So that's the organizing and the scheduling, right? So it's all the things, it's the stories, it's knowing the micro niching. And so then I think what you've just done is demystified her content creation, because now it was so clear. It wasn't everybody in the community that she was talking to. It was to restaurants and their unique challenges.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what becomes super fun, by the way, because this, like all of this stuff informs so many areas for you. And it's not even just marketing. I always talk marketing because most people are like, that's their, oh, I gotta market. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got marketing on the brain all the time. So that's where I go. But then imagine this, like, if you know these things about your brand, then how much easier is it for you to make decisions, like investment decisions in your business? Like, for example, let's say you've decided, and this is actually hits home for me. I'm actually creating a live internet show next year. It's going to be like debuting in January, and I didn't come at that with like, it wasn't like, oh, let me just try this next thing, right? No, I said, okay, what do I love doing? I love doing this, like, talking. Man, I'm a great
Yes.
talker, right? So, and I love being interviewed and I love interviewing people. And I'm like, holy cow, why am I not doing this all the time?
Yes.
So then I got involved with Pablo Gonzalez. You know him, Susan, right?
I've
Yeah.
heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was doing this. And I was like, I want in on that. So I invested in his program. Right. And I'm putting all my energy and effort into that to make this an amazing show. So I don't, and then that becomes my content creation, right? So it's like when you know this stuff, you can say, what is like the most important thing for me to invest in my business this year? I think probably all of us here are, we've either done our budget for next year or in the process or getting ready to or whatever, but we're thinking about that. Like, what do I really want to make happen next year? So now you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to like do Facebook and Instagram ads or whatever. You don't have to write a book, by the way. Like there's so many people are like, I just got to write a book. It's like, yes, if it's the right time, if it's in alignment, right? And
That's
and
right.
so you got to know all this stuff in order to figure that out.
Yes. So good. And now I know that we could talk for hours, and we have, and we will some more. Um, because like I think I mentioned at the beginning, if you're just joining us now, Melissa and I are members of the Idea Lab for Entrepreneurs, and we have, each of us, I think, has a monthly program
Mhm.
that we offer through there. All of the experts within that community are offering a monthly, like, oh my gosh, for people like me who are addicted to learning, this could be a thing. However, I've met all the people. They are all amazing. I can't wait to take everybody's classes, really to keep upping our game and to keep figuring out what it is that gives us joy and to show up. Now I have a note here that you're offering a free visibility masterclass. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. And I think this is so good for, well, pretty much anyone. I know there's people out there that maybe are farther along in business and have done some of this work, etc. But this is what I've done here is I have I think it's about 45-minute class. I'm going to grab my link and put it in the chat here. And then Susan, I guess once we put this out there, we can put it in the comments.
Yep.
So yeah, so what that does is you'll listen to the class to get sort of the understanding of where I'm headed with this, and what I want what I want for everyone is to understand wherever you are in business, however long you've been in business, whatever work you've done on your brand, you can figure out with this training and with the corresponding quiz what are some really good avenues for you to take when it comes to visibility. So like general categories, like should I actually have a podcast, like should I be doing ads, should I be doing events, things like that. And so um, I just created that because I do see so many people struggle there. So go ahead and grab that, and you'll get the class, instant access to the class and to the workbook. It's a quiz kind of workbook. And then hopefully that'll give you some light onto, okay, well then next year, maybe this is my next thing I'm going to take on. I've already done these things. Maybe I can layer this on. And also note too, and I think I put it in there, I don't recall exactly, but sometimes you need help with this, you guys. So hiring your first VA, it's a freaking game changer. It was for me. Um, so don't be afraid to kind of make those investments, and they don't have to be large to begin with. But a lot of getting more visible is getting that support staff and structure. You cannot do this alone. It's too hard. It takes too much time. And so if you want to be consistent and have that consistent cadence on social media with your newsletters, with your blogs, with that podcast, with that live show, whatever the heck it is you're doing, you need the support.
You need the support. And that's interesting that I'm glad that you brought that up. And I know we have to wrap up. We both have somewhere to go, but what I wanted to mention, I'm glad you brought up the whole virtual assistant thing or support, because as I'm moving into the new year, one of my goals is to make sure that in the work that I do as a consultant, as a strategist in digital marketing, I don't do all the nitty picky things. And you know what? People don't have time to do, like you were talking about, all of their posts or editing their things or making their canvas or whatever. So I am actually this week, while it's quiet, putting together my outsourcing list of people so that if anybody needs anything, so far I have most of the things covered as far as what people might need, so that it's kind of Rise Above Noise will be sort of like not an agency, but a collective of people working together to help transformation creators show up, right? Market.
I love that. I love
Is
that.
there
I'm very
anything before I do too? I'm really excited because you know what? There's just so many amazing people out there. I know so many amazing graphic artists and copywriters and website designers and search optimization people, and of people who are so creative with Canva. I love Canva, right? Like I could be on Canva all day long. But
Mhm.
I don't think it would be effective in my
Nope.
business to do
Nope.
that. So you have to
Good.
outsource what's taking
Exactly.
your time, right? Protecting our time and our energy.
Yep. In fact, I'm bringing on a new person, in the new year. So my team
Congratulations.
is going to be like I don't know how well as far as support people, I think I'll end up with 2 or 3 people next year. So yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, right. We can't do it alone.
Nope.
Melissa, thank you so much. Is there anything else that I missed that we should talk about before we move on with our
No,
day?
there's more to talk about, but
Sure.
maybe we do this another time because I would love to tell people how they can micro niche because I think that's one of those hard things for people to do. But I could give some guidance on that. But maybe it'll just be another chat.
We'll do another chat. We'll do another chat and we'll do it in the Idea Lab together.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yes. Awesome. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this week's Rise Above Noise Spotlight. Did you grab some takeaways? I know I did, right? So use this opportunity to take that moment and think about the work that you've already done. How many lives have you changed already? What does that look like? When you dig into those questions, you're going to have begun the process of demystifying your content creation. When you work with a brand strategist, you create your stories, your content pillars, so that you create the right visibility strategy for you and for your brand. When you have your brand defined, it makes you feel more comfortable about showing up, right? That's marketing. Showing up is marketing. So the idea of doing that deep work, of creating the content pillars of our brand so that we can micro niche, that is, speak directly to the person that we intend to help, that potential client. It gives us the roadmap to show up fully as ourselves and grow our business with ease and with flow. So think about that. How would it feel to fall in love with your business all over again? So as I mentioned in our conversation, our only true currency in this life is our time and our energy. So as we're working at building our businesses, we really need to practice that efficiency and flow and to do what we need to do to shine in our zone of genius without sucking up our precious time and energy. So think about who you can lean on, where you can turn to have a strategy that supports your business growth and also supports your resources, your time and your energy. I think you can see that the Rise Above Noise community is revolutionizing how service professionals show up in our marketing, in your marketing, to make a real difference in the world. And now more than ever, our world needs you. It needs our transformation creators to be successful in your venture, to show up in service and make real difference in our world. Thank you for joining me today. And I do look forward to seeing you in our Rise Above Noise community and sharing my next Rise Above Noise Spotlight.